Hey guys, this is the One Nerd again, coming to you for a sort of follow-up slash review of something I talked about a bit ago. I just got home, at least at the time of this writing, from seeing the newest TMNT movie, Mutant Mayhem. And considering the controversy around the movie from certain aspects of Twitter is only getting worse, I wanted to discuss some of my thoughts on the film.
This is insane. Turtle, mutant, karate teens. I want to know everything about you.
Our dad is definitely not a giant rat.
That makes me feel like he's a rat.
Right off the bat, I want to say that I loved this movie. It's always been my feeling that there's never been a bad TMNT animated show. And yes, I am including Rise in that list because Rise gets way, way, way too much hate. I don't know if it's just Rise was just too different from the TMNT formula, or just new thing bad. But either way, there's not a bad TMNT animated show, which I have to say animated because of course we have the live action show, which we don't talk about. I wish of course I could say that there is not a bad TMNT film, but we still have the Michael Bay films to deal with. But hey, now we have something that redeems that horrible, horrible mess. Mutant Mayhem takes a bit of a different direction for the franchise. While you do see a lot of familiar elements like the turtles themselves and the titular mutants themselves, which are taken from previous TMNT stuff, it changes up the origins a bit in order to connect with the bad guys a bit more. But it also focuses on the turtles' feelings of isolation with the rest of the world. While in other TMNT stuff, we have seen the turtles emphasizing the fact that they need to stay hidden because they are giant turtles, this film plays with it a bit more. It acknowledges the fact that they are teens, and they want to do stuff that other teens do, like hang out with friends, go to school, or even date. Which of course leads to the introduction of April.
So enraging! It makes me want to eat an entire box of powdered donuts!
If you remember, I talked about this in a previous video about the controversy surrounding April's new look, mainly about April looking more like a potato slash turtle in this version. And I have to say, after seeing this movie, I really grew to like her. Mostly because it fits with the rest of the humans. It's not really highlighted a lot in the trailers, because why would you focus too much on humans in a TMNT movie? But all the humans are really ugly looking. There's not one attractive human in this entire movie. They're all misshapen or off-model in some way. It's funny, but when footage of this movie started coming out, people would compare it to Spider-Verse for some reason. But if you ask me, it reminds me a lot more of a stop-motion movie. No joke, I would not be surprised if the creators of this were inspired by Laika films like Paranorman or Box Trolls, and how the humans look. Everything about this movie looks really janky, but in a good way. It really lends a unique feel to it, a unique look, a unique style. Wholly different from anything else that we've seen from TMNT before, which I think is a good thing. While a lot of TMNT properties have been, sort of the same and kept to a specific formula, they've all changed something up. Whether it be how certain mutants are formed, how they interact with the turtles, or everything like that, they have been something different. And this takes it to a whole nother level. Everything about this movie worked for me. The action, the use of music, the dynamic between the turtles and the other mutants, even stuff like the humor and the references to pop culture, the use of music especially. There's a really great moment in a car chase that uses one song but then uses another memed version of the song, which I think works really great. I don't want to spoil anything, but seriously, it really worked for me. And especially it worked for April, because while April got a lot of hate when she was first seen, she's really shown as a real character with real ambition and emotion, and she has a real motivation for doing things. I, again, really grew to like her.
One box wasn't enough. I'm still angry. I need more hate donuts!
Which is, I think, is a really good thing, because with the ending of this movie, it really takes it in a real drastic turn from what we've seen in normal TMNT things. Which I think is a really interesting thing to do, because we're going to be seeing this followed up a lot more since we've already been approved for a sequel film, plus a TV series based on the universe. Needless to say, I think that all TMNT fans should give this movie a shot. It's got great action, some great laughs, and a lot of potential with future projects. I was actually in the theater by myself, as I usually see movies by myself, but of course, with any of these types of films, and it is still summer, it was mostly filled with parents taking their kids to see it, so there were a lot of kids in here. And I could tell that the kids, even though I couldn't actually see them, I could hear some kid laughing at certain scenes and recognizing certain references and what have you. The actual sus moment actually got a little bit of play with the kids because they recognized that, they knew what that was. So I think this movie is doing a great job to appealing to both new fans of the franchise, those kids who may have been young enough to maybe start with Rise and are getting into a new version of TMNT. It's really great to see that this franchise and these characters are so versatile that we can change to basically an entirely new thing, but still different in some way, that we can still, even though these characters are basically the same, they could still be drastically changed around and that we can still be fans of everything. Or if you're not a fan of one thing, you can still be a fan of another series of Turtles. There's so much Turtles to choose from. But I think that this movie really works for what it is. It's a great, fun TMNT movie that really opens itself up for a lot of potential. And of course, the toys were pretty great too, which is why I picked up a basic set of the 4 Turtles and April, which came in a multi-pack that was Target exclusive. But after seeing this movie, I will definitely be picking up all of the rest of the Turtles toys that I can pick up. What would really be nice, especially since we are getting not just a sequel, which has an obvious sequel bait at the midpoint credit scene of the movie, but it would be really great that since we are getting a TV show, we'll be able to flesh out a bit more of the other mutants that we see in the movie. While they do throw in a lot of mutants, even some obscure ones, I mean, we even get Genghis Frog in this movie, they don't really have a lot of character moments. They each have maybe a little tiny moment where they get to do something, but not really are able to be fleshed out, which I think is a problem with trying to stuff so many mutants into this. Although they do give a reason why there's so many mutants in this. Again, everything is kind of explained in this movie. They don't just throw them in just because, reference. There's a reason why there's so many mutants in this, although, again, because of the nature of it, they're not really given a lot of time to flesh out. But since we are getting a sequel and we're getting a TV series, hopefully we'll be able to use that for the Tales of the TMNT to focus, again, not just on the Turtles, but also on the different mutants that are introduced in this film. Also, as well, the 4 boys playing the Turtles have great chemistry together and really, really just kind of sort of melt into these roles, so to say. They're all great performances and manages to give these Turtles these new personalities that come across really well. I especially loved Raph in this movie because they really play up his sort of borderline psychotic side where all he really wants to do is fight. He really needs to get that energy out, which they actually play in a little bit at the end of the movie. And of course, Leo has a really great arc in this as well, trying to pine for wanting to have that connection with humans and wanting to have that, dating life. He's the first one to actually put out the possibility of them dating, but still wanting to be loyal to his father and still being wanting to keep his team and his family safe. The other Turtles in there, like Donatello and Michelangelo, I mean, they have things to do and they have personalities, but really the main Turtles that are fleshed out in this are really Leo and Raph, and which is not really that surprising because that's really a lot of case with a lot of these. They're clearly the 2 main Turtles that people a lot of times like to focus on, but that's not to say that Mikey and Donatello don't have anything to do. They certainly do, but the focus is definitely more on Leo and then Raph's secondary. But again, all of this said, it really gives me a lot of hope for the future of this franchise. Again, I think that a lot of people were really quick to judge this film way too harshly because I think that was because it was produced by Seth Rogen, written by Seth Rogen, and people were thinking, oh, Seth Rogen, he can't be trusted with anything. But we've seen before that if he is not necessarily the sole person in charge of a project, we can get a good performance out of him. I mean, he was really good as Donkey Kong in the Super Mario Brothers movie. I thought so. And in this, he plays Bebop pretty well. I mean, he's not too much in the movie. He doesn't sort of take over the movie with his performance or anything. He's just there as a background artist. You recognize his voice, and what's funny is that I don't even think that he does his iconic laugh in this. I mean, there's a streak broken right there. He doesn't even do that. He's just playing the character of Bebop, which is great. And I think that people were, again, they were a little concerned about that, but I think that I can say, as a big TMNT fan and somebody who has followed this franchise for a very long time, I can safely say that if we can expect the same kind of quality and the same kind of everything that we got from this particular film, I think that the Turtles are safe and sound with Paramount and safe and sound with this Mutant Mayhem universe. But I want to know what you think, of course. If you had a chance to check out this movie and want to share your thoughts on it, then be sure to post something in the comments. But until next time, I'm the One Nerd, and I hope you have a shell of a good day.